Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voxel Viewpoint. I'm Ryan Shepard, and with me today I've got Lee.
Hi.
And Derrick.
How's it going?
We are knee deep in game season, it seems. A lot of early September games snuck out. We've got later on we're gonna talk a little bit about Control. We're gonna talk about Man of Medan, Blair Witch. I guess Halloween came a little early. And to kick it off, we're going to talk a little bit. We're just going to do some check-ins here with some games we've already talked about. First of all, we've got Remnant from the Ashes, which Derrick talked about last time. And Lee and I have picked it up, and we've started playing it. So I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I definitely obviously see the comparisons to Dark Souls and all of that. I think I'm finding it a little bit more forgiving than Dark Souls. Like, you don't lose a whole lot. You don't really lose anything when you die. There's no, like, corpse runs or anything like that, which is kind of a big turn-off for me with Dark Souls. But the challenge is there, like the enemy encounters, and the game feels good to play, and I'm really digging the atmosphere and the world and stuff like that. Lee, what's your take on it for what you've played so far?
Well, I haven't played too far, but it's better than I thought it was going to be going in. I'd already touched on which I don't think anybody else did, on the Dark Soul-y guns type thing with Immortal Unchained, which was a bit of a misfire. So I went in thinking I was going to go into that, and I felt... Huh?
That was a good one, misfire.
Oh, see what I did there? Do you like that? British wit. So I thought I was going in. Stop. We've got to get through this. I thought I was going in, going to get the kind of that sort of thing. And I started, and I thought I wasn't going to like it. It felt like they basically just dropped guns into kind of their Darksiders 3 maps, if you know what I mean. I felt immediately
that's
like
exactly how I
thing.
felt when I saw the screenshots of this, and I even got to that first like Ruined City Streets. I'm like, this looks like the first map from Darksiders 3.
Make the most out of those assets, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but as soon as you get in, you start really kind of feeling the solidness of those, so it doesn't feel like they've just got all their assets to make a new game. There's a real solidness to the gunplay. I like that there's not that thing, because I can do that whole kind of get back to your resources before you die again thing. But it can be fatiguing, and it does take a lot of that out of it without reducing the challenge, I think.
Yeah.
It just reduces the frustration of the challenge.
Yeah.
I like it. The aesthetic is good. The creature designs are really good. And the level designs are kind of crafty than you think they are.
I know we've both been playing it single player, and I really haven't ran into any huge like difficulty issues with that yet. I had one boss, Gore Fist, that gave me a bit of a run for my money, but like it was one of those situations where, and you know, just like with a lot of these types of games, like you know exactly what you need to do, you just need to execute it properly. It wasn't like I was feeling like I was underpowered or like the fight was unfair. It was just like, okay, I need to take this special thing to stop this from happening to me and make sure I get good placement and watch out for, because there's ads that show up which are actually more of a pain in the ass than the boss itself. And then I was able to pull it off. And because of the fact that you don't lose anything really on death except for any items you've used, then you know, you don't feel like every time you die you're like losing more than just, you know, your pride, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to that Gore Fist? I know we were talking about it in chat.
I think I did. Is that at the end of the sewer section?
Yeah. Yep.
When you go down the sewers I think I did, but I think I got absolutely beasted, so I didn't play anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't had the courage to ask. But I haven't had the courage to ask you for help yet.
Yeah.
I'm too proud.
That's the boss. If you grind a little bit, go through the sewers a couple of times, you'll be able to
Yeah.
upgrade everything and be able to handle him single player. But if you want some help, I will help you out. It'll be a lot easier with another player, that's for sure.
And that's where I found that kind of it goes from, that's where kind of you really appreciate the not dropping all your resources when you die. Is when you get into those sewers, because it is a lot tougher because you don't have the spatial leeway. If they had that loot drop, I would have dropped it by now. I tell you, the amount of times I've died in those sewers is ridiculous.
Yeah.
With the bombs and the
So Derrick, I know you've been playing a lot more. Has your opinion changed? Does it get better? What's the deal?
I absolutely enjoyed it even more the more I got into it. Like, I've dumped a good 40 some hours into it.
Wow.
I still have not hit the final world. But to kind of touch on like what you guys are talking about with Gorefist too, is one of these things they have is the bosses have modifiers to them, which don't always show up and are also random. It'll show next to their name in a smaller text. So depending on those modifiers, the fight could be a whole lot different and a whole lot harder or easier depending which ones they have. Because I thought, at least the first two worlds of bosses, like at least 10, 15 times over. And sometimes you'll get a roll with a modifier and you'll just get destroyed over and over again. And then you'll come back through after resetting. It'll have a different modifier or none and just be like the base version, and then we'll destroy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed. I noticed for my Gorefist fight, it said Skull Crusher or something like that next to him.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and because like my brother didn't even notice that, and he's played just as much as I had, and I had to point it out to him. I was like, "Hey, look next to it. It's not going to show for every one, depending on how your world or whoever you're playing with world has rolled, but it's something to look out for because you could hit a brick wall with one that's just way too hard to do right now, and then reset, come back. You could get them again a completely different way, and then just destroy them."
Cool. Yeah, I noticed. I know that there's a lot of things they mix up, but I didn't realize they got that granular with it. I'm gonna keep playing and see how it goes. And Lee, like I said, if you want some help with that dude, just let me know and I'll hop in for a quick boss fight.
It's too hard.
Also, with that, there is an update coming out. I believe it's this week or next, and it's going to add in the adventure mode, which will let you like pick certain areas that you need to do. Like if you're trying to find something certain, you can go in and roll just that specific spot now, versus having to restart your entire campaign. And they're adding in another area, I believe.
Oh, cool.
So we tried to play some Gears 5 around when it launched on Game Pass that Friday night, and then actually no, we tried it Thursday night, right? Because it launched at like 9 o'clock local time on Thursday, and then we're having some connection issues. Xbox Live was not doing so well then, and then we tried again Friday night, and that's when the whole kind of Xbox Live was in the middle of going down. And that was kind of a bummer. We wanted to roll some co-op campaign, which we did. We got through part of the first act. Turns out that the third player gets to be the robot.
Rest in peace, Lee. I'm sorry.
I carried you all the way. Leave me alone.
That was all Xbox Live's fault.
Yeah, that was because you guys got kicked out.
Stayed connected fine.
Yeah, first Derrick drew that card first, and then both you guys got kicked out, and then you were a little bit quicker on the draw there, Derrick. No, I mean, outside of that, the game seems pretty good. It looks fantastic, and the shooting is good, and they've done some things to kind of some little tweaks to the gameplay. I haven't gotten to the open world sections yet, but Derrick, did you?
I think I stopped right before you get to do that, kind of the way things are going and like where I ended.
Mm-hmm.
So I think pretty soon I'll be able to check out the open worldness of it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got a little bit. I think it starts at least partway through Act 2, from what I heard. And
yeah, that's what it's looking like.
Yeah. So far, I think they've done a pretty good job aside from the connection issues. So we'll check in a little bit more. We'll have a bigger discussion on Gears 5 in a maybe next time around, because none of us have put in enough time yet to really have a review on it. So Derrick, you have a couple of things you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about the good thing or the bad thing?
Well, we'll start with the bad thing first because that's kind of easy, and we can flush that. We can flush that right out.
Okay, we can flush that down the toilet.
Yeah. So I guess about a year ago now, it's been around that time, I believe, I picked up the Astro CR40 controller for the PlayStation and PC when it came out.
That hasn't. Great. No, that was this year. That was only a few months ago.
Really? It seems like it was so. It seems like it was so much longer.
No, it was like April or something, March or April.
Damn. Seems like it's.
So Ryan, what does Derrick think about the controller?
Yeah. Well, it turns out that there may be some problems with this controller.
It feels like I've had it forever, but the problem we've run into, which turns out, as I found, is a huge problem among a lot of people, is the left joystick stops working right, allowing you not to be able to sprint right or move forward. It'll make everything real jagged. Even if you swap it with the right one, it'll still happen. So I'm guessing it's an overall joystick issue with the controller. Astro hasn't even said hey, we know this is a problem, but when diving in through Reddit, through their forums, it's a huge problem with a lot of people talking about it, and it forced me to go back to a regular PlayStation controller, which is really weird because it's a lot smaller. I miss having my offset joysticks. That was the real reason, was because it's a lot bigger of a controller, so it was easier for me to hold. And then having the offset joysticks was nice. So trying to go back to the regular little smaller form factor of the PlayStation 4 one, it took me a little bit to get used to.
So so is it an X button or a cross button?
Oh, it is the X button.
They've confirmed it's cross. They did it a few hours ago.
I know.
Oh.
That's where that whole thing came from. It just makes me so sad. It's the damn X button.
They probably don't want.
I said in group it was an A button and got a ton of shit about it.
I called it.
Yeah, you did.
I've always called it the kiss button.
Oh, good, right.
Yeah, we'll move on from that before it turns into a battle of the brand, so to speak. I imagine PlayStation just doesn't want to have anything associated with X. So that's a bummer. Astro controller. What is it? CR40? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a CR40. I'd stay away from it, even when I was talking to them at GameStop, because you can't trade it back in either. And they're almost everyone's come back returned.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
so,
that's a bummer.
That's a bummer because it was a real solid controller. So, but if you're out in the market for that kind, I still say the Xbox Elite has been my favorite one.
Yeah. If there's any if you get a response from Astro and they make good on it, we'll update. So Final Fantasy VIII, the new game from Square Enix.
Right, that has so many people confused. So 20 years later, we're finally getting a remastered version of Final Fantasy VIII. After some digging and looking into some information, I was able to find out at the time, backups and archiving was kind of messy and not really like looked at like it is now, where you can find backups and archives of all the games made. And it was in a time where they were transitioning from having completed 8 to starting to work on 9. The original source code of the game kind of got lost in the mix.
Okay.
And that's why it took them so long to finally get it back out. Like, they had to bring back on some of the original people, try, I guess, kind of like extracting the game from its old format to be able to bring it to the new format so that we could play it on newer PCs, on the PlayStation 4. Some things they did was like keep the soundtrack as intact, so it's the original soundtrack. They don't have like a remastered one like they've done with a couple games.
Okay.
They ran the backgrounds through bilinear, I believe, upscaling.
Okay, so they threw them in Photoshop and...
Yep. They threw the backgrounds in Photoshop, up-resed them a little bit for you. Not too much, though. Not too much.
I don't want to go crazy.
Just a little.
Yeah.
But they did redo the character models, at least for the face.
Okay.
From what it looks like from playing. Like yeah, we redid the character models, and the magic effects were redone as well, from scratch.
Okay.
And one of the things they used to kind of market was that famous meme where Riona is telling Squall that he's the best looking guy at the party and his face is all pixelated.
Yeah.
So like they have that, and then they have the new picture of it, and he actually has a face.
Okay. All right.
So it's just a little like clever, like they're like, hey, we see you guys, but we fixed it.
Now, what did this originally come out on? Was this a PlayStation game?
Yes, this was on PlayStation.
Okay, the first PlayStation 1, right?
Right, I believe it was the last Final Fantasy. Yeah, because then 9 came out on PlayStation 2.
All right, so I watched some of your gameplay because you were talking about the backgrounds and how they looked, the static backgrounds and how they looked kind of blurry, especially compared to the polygonal characters. And yeah, and you're right. They look a little weird.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell that they didn't redo the art and the background. So as far as I could tell, like the characters and like walking around the overworld and the combat that you get into, that's all 3D. But when you go into like a city or like a house or whatever, the backgrounds are static. Is that a good overview of that?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Okay. Yeah, and it seems like, well, I mean, it still kind of looks like a PlayStation game, but it looks like one that's being rendered like a lot higher resolution. Like if you were to install an emulator on your computer and run the old ROM through your computer, like you know, Nintendo 64, GameCube, and stuff like that, you can get really nice, sharp-looking, modern resolutions and stuff with still using the old assets. But they actually did work for like the effects and stuff.
Yeah, it was one of the things they had mentioned was like, aside of the character models, that the spell effects were kind of redone to kind of like keep up with the nice character models that are there during that, versus having your still like muddy and original game looking backgrounds.
Yeah, because those would have had to be redrawn, unless they had the original assets that were already high res. But who knows if they even would have been. Okay, so overall, it's not quite like as let's say comprehensive of a remaster as you probably wanted, but you're having a good time with it.
Right, like it's not anything like super crazy, but the fact that it's out there, it's finally out there after all these years of like, where did this game go? It's nice to be able to be playing it again.
Okay, cool. Thank you for joining us on this very special episode of Voxel Viewpoint. If you'd like to hear or see more, please consider subscribing to us on your favorite podcast app, subscribing to us on YouTube, or visiting voxelvoice.com, where all of our great content comes together in one place. Also check out the Voxel Voice Facebook group, where you can join in on the discussion with a great, like-minded community.